the Student of the Game podcast, where we break down the life, strategy, and advice of successful individuals who are students of their own game and masters of their own craft. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to the episode.
Welcome to the Student of the Game podcast. I'm your host, Nick Galbreath, with my co-host, Tim Stone. And we have an amazing guest for you today, Brandon Gaskin from Ocala, Florida. He's a 22-year-old, a part-time travel nurse and a full-time real estate investor. And he invests into single-family and multi-unit properties in Ocala, Florida, and maybe some outside the market. I'm not too sure. We got to catch up on things, Brandon. But we really appreciate you being here, man.
Great to be here, man. Super excited to be here. Talk with you guys. So,
yeah, it kind of all started from Bourbon Street in New Orleans at the Bigger Pockets event.
Ooh, yeah, the hand grenades.
Hand grenades, yes, sir.
Some good times. But Brandon, if you could just start off and really take us back. I mean, you're 22 years old, and being a full-time investor, part-time travel nurse, and just kind of take us back to, did you go to college? Did you go to school or?
Yeah, I did. So I'm a registered nurse. I work in the ICU. So yeah, work as a travel nurse. So kind of go bounce all around the country, every couple months, switching it up. So it's kind of like getting paid to go travel and vacation for work and just work, a couple days a week. But yeah, so you want to get in like before college and all that?
Yeah, kind of just a little background. Yeah.
Okay. So before college, I grew up, Ocala, Florida. Come from definitely not an investing family whatsoever. So they all kind of thought, super crazy when I went out on this venture. Kind of how I grew up, I think is, really interesting, and the foundation that it gave me has been super beneficial. So it kind of came from like a split difference. My parents were kind of total opposites. One, my dad, when he retired after like 30 years being in the sheriff's department, he made like $54,000 a year. He was that Dave Ramsey guy. Never invested, all money like under the mattress, never had a mortgage. You just work your butt off and save every penny and, put it under that mattress, and, you'll have a good life. And he's, done very well, instilling all those principles in me, and he's very well off and has a bunch of properties and like hunting properties and, retired, living his best life. And then the other, 50% of how I was raised, my mom, she is a nurse anesthetist. So, it's a very good paying job, not a hard job to make about $250,000 a year. So obviously a very higher income source. But she's a big spender, did not instill the value of the dollar. So definitely not as well off. So it just kind of taught me the difference there about, one side very frugal, even with a little bit of money, coming out very ahead in life, and then the other side kind of a little bit of the opposite. So right before college, when I was young, my dad's always been like making us work hard for whatever we had. We always had to, buy our own trucks, pay for our own insurance, all that stuff. If you want something, you have to go out and work for it. So I started out like 15 years old, like in a full-time construction job during the summers, making $8 an hour out in the hot sun, busting my butt every single day while everyone else is enjoying their summers. I was going to college full-time too at the time, doing that dual enrollment, if you guys know about that. And then, I knew on this plan was, I'm going to get my associates in high school. I'm going to go to nursing school, work for about a year or two, and then I'm going to go to anesthesia school like my mom. I'm going to come out and go make, $250,000 a year. But I'm not going to be like her. I'm going to save every penny and then, just live modestly and retire early that way. And then those plans kind of changed a little bit. so I got out of nursing school. I was like 18 or maybe just turned 19. So I'm like super young.
Yeah.
But, I'm making good money. Then I'm starting out, I made about 100,000 my first year at like 19. So like I thought, I was on top of the world.
Oh yeah.
So at that time, I've always been, kind of like money hungry of trying to, what can I do to, make my money make money. So I don't know anybody in my life who invested in real estate. To be honest, when I went to Bigger Pockets and met you guys, like that was the first time I ever met other people that really invest in real estate. So like, everyone else in the world, I have a little bit extra money in my pocket when I'm like 18, 19. I pick up Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read it. And then I remember I went to Barnes and Nobles and I bought Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like Everyday Millionaires by Chris, I forget his last name. And
Chris
like
Hogan,
yeah.
the
And
Dave
then,
Ramsey guy.
yeah. And then like all of Dave Ramsey's books. And so I thought about it. I was like, I'm going to go buy, rental property. I'm going to have it for 2 years. And then, maybe I'll live in it. And we'll go from there. My dad, being that frugal, stick your money under the mattress is like, it's not a good idea. Tenants, they destroy your properties, blah, blah, blah. So that idea just kind of went back in the back burner. Never really thought about it. And then about 2 years later, or fast forward to like last year, I was 21. I'm doing this travel nursing thing and start out, go to New York when COVID first started. Working up there 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. I was able to stack away some money. And then I don't know if you guys are kind of familiar with travel nursing, but it's a pretty interesting field. So what they do is they give you a stipend every week. You get paid weekly, and you have a living stipend. It's tax free. And usually the idea is you want to use it. It's for housing, but you want to pocket as much as you can. But so after that New York assignment, I actually had a free housing up there. But so I go to Houston, Texas. This was the real kind of game changer. How I really got the fire of real estate in me was me and my buddy are living in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It's right, because we're only there for a couple months, so we have to have like a furnished place. That someone else pays the utilities, someone else pays the Wi-Fi, all that. So kind of like Airbnb style. So we're staying in this 2-bedroom, 2-bath in the Houston Med Center. We're paying $6,000 a month for it, which is just astronomical, right? But we didn't care because our company.
You were being given money to pay that, right?
Yeah. So we had an allowance of $3,000 each, and they were like, in this certain instance, it was if you don't use it all, you don't get it. So it was like you might as well use every penny. So we just went and got the most expensive place. You were like, we're going to use all 3,000 of it each. So
and that was just a living stipend.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was like I said, if you didn't use it, you might as well you didn't get it. So you're paying $6,000 for this, little 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. It's like it's not anything huge. And so I'm like, okay, this is kind of crazy. I was like, and we had a kind of hard time finding places too. I was like, there wasn't a huge supply. So I was like, I need to do something like this. So I kind of brought that philosophy and kind of transferred it back towards my home market. And so, that's kind of like my niche is doing short-term housing for travel and healthcare people, mostly nurses. I do have some PAs and some doctors. So I furnish them and then rent them out, and it's a month-to-month basis. But I've had some people stay. Usually they stay anywhere from 3 months. I've had some they're can stay for 2 years actually, but paying those higher rates. So
yeah, thank you for breaking that down, Brandon. I'm not sure if you had a question, Tim, but I mean, just kind of getting the bare bones. I just want to go back and so your mom. Can you say that word one more time? What she did?
She's a nurse anesthetist.
Nurse anesthetist. What is that?
She's the person in the operating room that puts the breathing tube down your throat and keeps you asleep during surgery.
Okay.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, thanks. Thanks for clarifying that. I remember you telling me in New Orleans, but so I mean, so you just kind of saw that model with your friend, that $6,000 apartment, but I mean, did you have a discussion with an investor that owned one of those, or you just kind of took that idea back to Ocala and just started, I mean, really looking for properties and using that technique?
So, like I said, before I even went to Bigger Pockets, that was the first time I've honestly ever talked to like another real estate investor.
Yeah.
Ever. So I was just like, I'm gonna go do this and I'm gonna figure it out. I don't know anyone else that invests in real estate. I'd been listening to, October of last year, 2020. I started listening when I was living in that apartment. I found the Bigger Pockets podcast, and I started listening to it. And then I think, I was under contract on my first place, like, a couple weeks later. I was just like, I'm just that person of I'm going to do it and I'm going to build my parachute on the way down, not before I jump.
Ready, aim, fire.
Yeah.
Or no, ready, fire, aim. That's how it goes.
Exactly.
You fire and then you aim later.
So, yeah, I was just all, in a split decision. I'm going to do it and I'll figure it out. And, which I think is good because, a lot of people, get stuck in analysis paralysis, wait years. I wouldn't have had the, success if I would have just sat there and moseyed along, kept pushing it off. I think, that's the best way to do it is just to jump in and, you'll learn more from your mistakes than if you sit there and wait around. So.
Yeah. So you said it was weeks after you discovered Bigger Pockets that you were under contract on your first property.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks later, honestly.
Wow.
I had, and one of my ex-girlfriends, her brother is a realtor in the market, right around my area. And I'd seen him and his fiance like killing it, selling all these houses. So I had a meeting with them, and I go into their office and we're kind of talking what I want to do. And, originally I was like, I'm going to go. I was like, I'm going to buy like a $150,000 house. I was like, I'll pay cash, whatever. And, then I'll have, 100%, profits, all cash flow.
Dave Ramsey style.
Yeah, exactly. And thank God I didn't, go that route. But yeah, so I'm like going in there, and then like I go in there, and he like shows me all this list of places that are like 350,000, 500,000, like $1 million. I'm like, whoa. I had like a mini heart attack. I was like, whoa, what are we talking about? And so, I was like, okay, I guess, I'll go the mortgage route, whatever. And then went under contract on a place. And then that deal, luckily didn't work out. There's a lot of problems with the inspection. So we backed out of that. And then I think like a week later, went back under contract on my first property and closed on it. And really was a home run.
What was that first property?
So the first property was a duplex. Before 2020, when the market got crazy, someone had bought it for I think like $195. They went in, completely renovated, flipped it. List price of $305. We did an escalation clause up to $318, $500. Praised for $320. And looking back now, like if it was, $400,000, like I could have paid it and like would have been fine. But it was definitely a little scary at the time. coming from those Dave Ramsey roots of thinking, $318,000. Oh my God. So yeah, duplex. And like I said, I didn't know what I was doing, and I really just hit a home run with this deal actually, and it all worked out, and it kind of showed me, what I need to do my business model on.
Yeah.
So luckily, this property itself was right next to, like, walking distance to, like, one of our bigger hospitals in Florida, which is a teaching hospital, and it's also in, like, a college town. So this hospital itself kind of always utilizes travel nurses and stuff. And I think that was a big, thing I've learned of, if you can get a place like walking distance to one of these hospitals, like, that's a big selling point because, I want to be able to just walk across the street to work. I mean, if I had to pay a couple $100 a month extra as a travel nurse, like, that would be beneficial to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brandon, just stopping you there for a sec. We heard a new term that we haven't heard on the podcast before. It's called escalation clause. Can you kind of tell listeners what that is?
Yeah, so pretty much, like I said, like, that property was listed at 305, and pretty much what we said was, with proof of, other people's funds or whatever, we will pay $1,000 more over their price up to a certain price. So I think we said up to like 320,000, escalation clause up to $320,000. So someone else offered like 317.5, so we paid 318.5.
Nice.
And with that, the business model you're doing where you are getting the tenants that are essentially being paid this money that they can't keep, that has to go towards rent, you're in a situation where you can charge, or you're going to charge a higher rent regardless. So now that you're more comfortable with it and you have seen the business model work and cash flow, are you finding it a little bit easier to buy these types of rental properties just because of, they're going to cash flow because they're going to make more than the typical investor is underwriting for?
Yeah, I've been so, if I've kind of leveraged it where I make sure that these properties, um, because the travel nurse market right now, because of COVID's pretty fluctuated, the pay is like quadrupled. Um, so I've leveraged it where no matter what, these properties are all kind of 1% rules. No matter what, they're all rent for. Worst case scenario, I can rent them out on a long-term base, to meet that 1% rule and still cash flow. Um, but honestly, deals have kind of been like falling in my lap. Only one of them really has been on market. The rest have kind of been just, hey, I heard that you're buying some properties, and then like somebody just sends them to me. So a lot of them been off market, actually. Just from people hearing kind of what I've been doing and sending me stuff.
Yeah, very cool. And I remember when we were talking about that duplex one day, you're like, always make sure you have a backup strategy. Just don't go off the rents of the travel nurse. What you think you can get. And what was that website that we were on? Was it furnishrental.com?
So how I market mine, I market them on a website. It's called furnishfinder.com. It's essentially a site predominantly for travel nurses and other people in healthcare, where people list, whether it be rooms in their house or entire houses. Majority of them, I would say, are other travel nurses who rent out their homes while they're gone to go on assignment.
Mm.
But yeah, so, like I said, I did the Airbnb thing for a little while,
Yeah.
like a week and a half, until I got started, and quickly realized I hated it so much. Uh, just dealing with the type of people on Airbnb, it was a headache to me. I mean, they just, complaining about the tiniest little things.
Yeah.
These type of clients that I'm running to, they're there to work. And that's it. They're not, they're all, yeah, I know they're going to pay. I don't do background checks on them. I just ask for kind of like a copy of their contract.
Mm.
That way,
The stipend?
if the hospitals, their contract with the hospital. So
Okay.
I know that if the hospital, is going to hire them, you know, I don't have anything to worry about. And then also on that contract has their pay. So it also kind of gives me a better idea of, what I can charge in the market right now, kind of how things are changing.
Yeah,
So
and
I need to adjust my rates and go higher or lower.
and that's what you do on Furnish Finder is just kind of see, if they allow pets. And I was going to ask you that question next. Is like, what characteristics do you market your property as that you see more attractive, in the travel nurse market?
So, I've studied a lot of markets, and I'm kind of lucky that the market I started with was such a good one. So I won't go to a market. If you go to like, Houston, Texas or something, I mean, on that website, there's like 800 places. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and mine, there's only like 50 of them on there. Um, so I do allow pets in mine, and I do make sure that all these properties have a fenced-in backyard
Mm.
because if you have those two, you're like now in like the top 10% because a lot of places will not allow pets, and then a lot of people have dogs and they're working 12-hour shifts, so they need a place for them to stay outside during work and stuff like that. Um, so that's a huge market selling point of why I'm pretty much always never have vacancies. People are moving in the next day after someone moves out. Um, so
And I
those are
think,
really big selling points. And then the fact of trying to have a place that's walking distance to a hospital.
yeah, and it's like a little privacy getaway, when these nurses are just done working, they're like, I don't want to talk to anybody else. And they got their own backyard and they can watch their dog go play. And it's just comforting to live in a good, nice place and, get to lay their head down and work and all that good stuff. And um, Brandon, would you mind kind of taking a dive in like your portfolio today and like what the numbers are looking like in the spread that you are obtaining now, in the travel nurse, shorter term rent, not a long term lease?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So this year, so in about the last like 10 months or something, I've done four duplexes. All my
Mm.
properties are duplexes. So four duplexes. Um, I have two like right next door to each other. And then about a couple minutes away, I have two more that are also right next door to each other. Like I said, that was more of the people saw that I like closed on this property and they were like, hey, you interested in buying, this one here right next door too as well. So that's been a huge advantage. But pretty much all these properties have roughly been around the $300,000 range. All these duplexes.
All renovated units.
A little different. So first one was a turnkey. It was 318, um, and that one, I charged about $3,000 a side. So
Oh,
at
that's the
318.
2% rule.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing, massive cash flow on that. I mean, that property was like a over 200% return, cash on cash return this year. Um, because I did FHA and like I'm renting one side out by the room technically, because that's my home. But, I'm not there a lot, but it's still legally, I still meet all the requirements because I'm only renting out that room in the one side technically.
Yeah.
And I do go back there every once in a while.
You ever rent out your bedroom?
Uh, yeah, I mean they understand it. I mean most of these people too. Me and Nick have talked about this before. Of a good way for this strategy is to back into what I'm looking for in these properties
Mm.
is I don't need a 5 bedroom 2 bed house. These people are coming there, either by themselves to work or they might have like a travel partner, another nurse with them. So all of these I'm targeting 2 bedroom, 1 bath mostly. Um, And that, so far, that's what all these properties are. All these duplexes are 2 bedrooms, 1 bath per side. Not huge. Each side's about 1,000 square foot. But you back into those numbers, I guess. First one was 318, mortgage and everything, and all expenses. Looking at, after I pay utilities and all that, about 2,100, and I'm renting out, like I said, $3,000 aside. So, that's cash flowing, about over $3,500 a month off
Yeah.
of, one property, and the rest are kind of followed suit with that.
That's phenomenal. That's one property. It was at the first property.
Yeah. So luckily, I said I really hit a home run with that property, just because like that location where it's at, everything worked out well, and thank God that it did, because if I didn't hit a home run with that property, who knows if I would have had such a fire to keep going and keep pushing and going, buying more. I probably would have said, heck with it. This isn't, real estate's too scary. And would
For
have
real.
backed off.
I mean, cash flow and $3,500 a month. that would just about change anybody's life.
Yeah, I mean,
first
it's
deal.
crazy.
And
Yeah,
then
because I mean, I used to make three grand a month as a nurse, take home, if I didn't work overtime. So I mean, it was essentially kind of almost being like financially free off one property.
yeah,
Uh,
on an FHA, you put 3.5%
yeah,
down.
yeah, correct.
That's life changing, people.
Yeah, so
If you're listening to that, one duplex change your life.
um,
3.5% down.
yeah, and like I put down like 15 grand at cash to close, maybe a little more. And then so like in 10 months, and I'm at 4 duplexes, and like pretty much 10 grand a month in cash flow in 10 months, which was like crazy. Like, who would have thought? But yeah, so moving on to that property, go buy another duplex, and like I said, didn't know what I was really doing at that point. So like that one, I actually did like a 15-year mortgage, because I was like, I'm not worried about the cash flow as much, but all the numbers still obviously worked. And then end up buying one right next door. And then the last two have been kind of, one's a burr and one was kind of an accidental burr. I also didn't do a cash out refi because there was just a lot of room to add equity. And then, like I said, all those numbers are about the same. Rents are about 2,700 to $3,000 a month, roughly.
Awesome.
So
super awesome. And Brandon, what is I know we chatted, the last couple of days about what your team looks like now, and can you tell our listeners what your team looks like, where you're located, why this is going on in Ocala, and what your goals are for next year, 2022, and they'll kind of just go from there.
So yeah, right now, my team, essentially it's just me. I'm doing all self-management.
Yeah.
All kind of worked out of, a lot of these places I've never actually like seen in person, honestly, ever. I've just been kind of living vicariously through pictures. I do like the Ring cameras and electric keypads and stuff. So it's, pretty, even though I'm across the country, I'm still doing everything. But honestly, once everything's set up and they're furnished and they're ready to rent, it takes up maybe 30 minutes of my week, man, honestly. So it's kind of that weird thing. Like, I couldn't hand it, because it's like kind of like that short-term rental, not the long-term rental. I couldn't hand it off to like a property manager.
Yeah.
So like eventually one day, even though like I said, it only takes up 30 minutes a week, and I want to make that more passive and hand that off. So I'll kind of have to figure out a way to do that. But like I said, it is kind of in that weird happy medium. But yeah, but right now, I said it's all self-management. Right now I've been kind of like backing off this last like 2 months, just getting everything settled with these burrs and stuff. Because I'm working with some contractors. Well, a big lesson I've learned this year. Being from a really frugal household is I made a lot of mistakes of, you know, especially not being there and not really having a lot of boots on the ground. Um, Definitely had, a bad handful of contractors and stuff, and finally got some good ones that are, really taking care of things and got everything settled now. Um,
And
but
talk about the power of that. I mean, were you being in Colorado and just having, a trustworthy team, being in Ocala and renovating your properties and, that not being a huge, obstacle anymore to be babysitting, contractors and,
Were people ripping you off?
oh man, it was a nightmare. And it all comes back to me, just trying to be frugal and save money. And that lesson of, paying the right people a little more has definitely slapped me in the face multiple times this year. Yeah, definitely have gotten screwed over. Um, One already, it's hard to find, workers right now in this market, because there's such high demand. Um, and obviously, I didn't want to go, with these big companies and pay, 20 grand for a bathroom remodel.
yeah,
So at first, I was actually having a guy do it, and he did a good job, but he was paying me like I was charging him like $1,000 for a bathroom remodel,
yeah.
which is obviously very cheap. I know you guys seen a couple of pictures of those bathroom remodels and stuff, and they look great, but just going through the process of not using someone super professional was a headache. Like the guy, when he did all the construction demo, he just like set it out all in the front yard, all this construction debris, and I didn't know about it. Apparently, like he didn't haul it off, so it was like sitting out there for like a couple weeks. And I have like all the neighbors apparently like hated me because they were like, "Oh, this new guy, he's just leaving all this junk out." And I had no idea at that time because I didn't have that team in place. Um,
Was this the FHA property?
no, this was like like my third property.
Over on your
I just
birth?
had to go and yeah, so I just had to do a quick like just change the bathroom because it was like this 1970s bathroom that was just like hideous. Um, but yeah, not having the team, like that's one thing, I wish I had my parachute built before I jumped out because that was definitely a headache. Um, Trying to find those people because, the, now like people I use, I think like, the bathroom remodel I just did was like, $3,000, which is still really cheap.
Mhm.
Not bad at all. Uh, but not having to, get phone calls about, there's construction debris in your yard. It's been there for 2 weeks, like just stuff like that. Um, the little bit of extra money it costs to have someone that's professional, and gets it done quick. In the long run, saves me so much more money, um, time and headaches. So,
I agree with that. I don't think I've officially been ripped off yet, but the day that happens, everyone in town's gonna know about it. I promise.
oh man,
It'll
it,
happen. It'll
I
happen.
have I have a
It's
worse
part of the
story.
game. Oh, tell
Worst
the
story
story.
actually. Oh man. um, so I had a guy that was doing my lawns, kind of like a good old country boy.
Mm,
Um, and I had, never really met this guy in person because I'm across the country. Um, so it was just kind of like, people are from the South, it's kind of like more like a handshake, agreement. And like I said, I'm trying to find the contractors, everyone flakes and stuff. And, he's a country good old boy, So I was like, "Hey, do you know anybody?" Because he was doing my lawns. I was like, "Do you know anybody that does like tile work and stuff like that?" And he's like, "Oh, I used to do it." And so I was like, "Oh, go check out. When you get done mowing the lawn, just go in there and tell me what you think." And he's like, "Oh yeah, man, I can do it for bathroom on for $750. Yeah, not a problem. Like, sure, I can get it done in 2 days. So I was like, all right, man, whatever. So I was like, go do that. And then I was like, I also had to replace a water heater at another property for insurance purposes because it was old. I was like, can you do that? He's like, oh yeah, not a problem. So he goes over there and, tents are living there and he changes it out, not a problem. And then I was like, okay, you do the bathroom model. And, oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like done. I'm pulling my leg and, I hate to admit it, but pretty much she kind of ripped me off for about like $1,500. Ended up going to this property and never looked like he even went in there, man. Was just pulling my leg. I was way too trusting,
Yeah.
money for materials and, some payment in advance. Um, so he ripped me off for that. But honestly, he did install the water heater and, if I would have charged like, Lowe's or Home Depot to go do it, it would have been more than that. So it all kind of balanced out. So that's whatever.
Yeah.
But
Lesson learned.
yeah, big lesson learned. It's whatever.
Well, this is a good point to bring up the importance of networking because I say for myself, I've gotten almost all of my contractors from people I know that have used them and trust them, or through those trusted contacts, gotten other people, maybe not directly from other investors, but like say I got a flooring guy that is, he's perfect. Like they've got a big team. They may be a little more expensive than some people, but if I call them, they can be out there before the end of the week. And
Yeah.
people that he knows, like because I can trust him. We've done business. People that he knows are going to be people that I can trust as well because I know the way he runs his business, and he wouldn't associate himself with people that are going to rip you off. So it's very important to network in the markets you are investing in, because if you have a hot water heater that goes out or something, you can call someone that's actually going to do it, or a bathroom remodel, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely 100% agree. Yeah, God, like I said, that whole process of, and it's, went through a couple guys like that,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, I'll get out there, and never did. And luckily I was the only one actually lost money on, but just the amount of time, like, that was a process that was like a month and a half long that I've lost for a dumb bathroom remodel. Um, because, if I should have in that month and a half, if I would have just paid, the more expensive guy, in the long run, just that 1 month would have saved me,
Yeah.
a lot more money.
Not only the $1,500 he ripped you off for, but the month of rent, which was potentially over $3,000.
Exactly.
So really, he stole $4,500 from you at least.
Yeah. So, like I said, in the grand scheme of things,
It's just a lesson.
Yeah.
It's a lesson learned.
Yeah. But it's all right. But so definitely now, a lot more, willing to put in the extra money. I actually have a property right now. One of the duplex I got that is actually kind of an accidental burr, because I think there's just a lot of equity that we're building in it. So I think I will do a cash out refi here soon on it. But like originally, like I bought it, I put 25% down through the Freddie Fannie Mac investment loan. And now I probably have like just over 100 grand wrapped up in this property. But in the grand scheme of things, like, right, I'm like, oh my God, like you're like, holy shit, I have 100 grand. Like that's so much money. But at the end of the day, like, even if I didn't do a cash out refi, this property is still delivering, a 40% cash on cash return on that 100 grand this year.
Mm.
So, I definitely go through that struggle like 5 times a week of like, my heart starts racing and like, what? And then I just kind of have to remind myself that the long game, don't look at, I just spent, 5 grand on this furniture. Think about, 100 grand total, 40% cash on cash at the end of the year. So it's just an investment. It's a long game, right?
Yeah. I think we should address that accidental burr. You just accidentally built enough equity that you're able to pull it out and still cash flow. That's sort of something you don't hear about a lot. And people do it intentionally all the time, of course. And sometimes they intentionally try to do it and can't even get it done. So how did that happen on accident?
So like I said, this was a off-market deal. I bought a one identical duplex to it right next door a couple months prior, um, at a higher listing price. And then this one, like I said, was identical pretty much in every single way. And I bought it for probably about 30 grand already below market value. And there was already a lot of room to grow because it was just like nasty carpets, this really old, outdated bathroom. Um, and then plus the housing market, since I bought that one, has already, the neighborhood, the equity in those
Mhm.
houses, values have already went up tremendously just in those couple months. Um, so just those little things provided a huge equity, and I, did not even think that was going to be that wasn't my plan at all, but it just kind of worked out. Realizing, because I bought it, so one off market, so far undervalued, and then there was a lot of room to build equity, because of his nasty carpets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when we did cash out refi, pretty much get a good portion back, and then because of those rents I'm charging, I'm still going to be cash flowing,
Mm-hmm.
over $3,000 a month off of that. So
Yeah.
uh,
Is this something that you plan to scale and grow maybe beyond your own capital, or is it just a side hustle thing for the time being?
um, so I did, I did use this last purchase was a hard money lender Burr, that I really kind of dived right into, and I bought it off market about 115 grand under market value. And I know that's right because I own the duplex next door, and it's
Yeah.
identical too. Um, all these duplex are actually identical, pretty much. So I knew, what it was worth and stuff, and it only needed like 20, 30 grand. But in the future, right now, like I said, these last like 2 months, I've just kind of been pumping the brakes, getting all these settled, these birds getting settled, get all ready and renovated. Um, in the future, man, that's a tough question. Um,
Mm.
I heard on a Bigger Pockets podcast one time, I don't remember who said it, but when we talked about our goals for the future, and us being so young,
Mhm.
you know, obviously, I've already quickly became financially free, 10 grand a month cash flow. I mean, originally I was like, okay, I'll get 10 grand a month cash flow and, then I'll settle down and no, that'll be it. I'll be retired. But, then I quickly got to that and I was like, well,
You got hooked.
just put it, got hooked. Yeah. Um, but,
Wait, can we just go back a little bit? You're 10-month a grand cash flow, and you're like, I just thought I was going to retire at 22 years old. I just want all the
yeah.
listeners to hear that. And then when you came to the Bigger Pockets, it blew all of our minds, as far as what's possible at our age, moving forward. But I'm sorry I had to cut you off there. But
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
no,
we're
you're
we're
good,
being so
man.
casual about about your story, which is just mind
Yeah.
blowing to probably to a lot of the people listening.
Yeah, man. But long term, this business strategy, this niche, it's not something like I said. I can't, or fluctuate a market. Like I already have, like 8 of these short term rentals in like this market.
Mhm.
So I can't over fluctuate that market. I'm not going to add any more there just because, then I'm competing with myself.
Yeah.
Um, right now, I'm helping some friends right now pretty much, take my business model. I'm helping them use their financing and their capital. Um, and I'm just doing like equity partnerships with them. So we're starting to do that. Um, long term, I see myself keep buying more properties, keep growing. Um, and you know, it's a great, you know, business strategy. You know, I really like it. It's just not much headache at all. So I'll probably will be diving into other markets. Um, Long-term goal, you know, would be, you know, that 100 unit building, and then, you know, take 10 of those units, and then those 10 units implement that business strategy. Um, I'd love to do that.
I heard something pretty bananas. Was it yesterday when I was talking to that guy out of Canada, Tim, and he was talking about hotels and Airbnb all the units in a hotel. And I was like, that's pretty crazy. I was like, never really thought of that, but changing the hotel model and hospitality to all Airbnbs. Um,
So, yeah, when I was in Houston, Texas, that's when I was saying that 6 grand a month place. That was their business. They're doing kind of like rental arbitrage in
mhm.
this big apartment building. And then, you know, furnishing them, renting it out, but they were doing hotel style. So they were renting it out by the night. Um, and they're in a couple big cities. I know they're in Houston. They have like 2 or 3 apartment buildings in Houston. I think in like Minneapolis, and I forget where else. And the problem with that was, I mean, I think, you know, if it wasn't for the large influx of travel nurses, I was talking to one of the managers, and you know, like I said, 6 grand a month, you know, is a lot of money. So like kind of when we came in there, we kind of kept them afloat. Um, so it just kind of showed me, I mean, there's room to do that, but you know, you kind of have to
Mm.
have a happy medium with price. Because they were definitely did have a lot of vacancies, because you know, 6 grand a month is a lot. Um, so that's where I kind of, you know, met in the middle with my pricing.
Hmm. So I don't know a whole lot about the travel nurse, business and the markets, but you mentioned not wanting to compete with yourself by having too many rentals in a market. Is that a problem that you see it becoming a thing? Because I think of monopoly, like you just want to own all
Yeah,
of them, and then you're not competing
yeah.
with yourself. You're building this machine that can't be taken down. But is that really the way that the travel nurse market goes? Is that it can become an issue?
Yeah, like I said, like, you know, if you're looking like these big on that Furnish Finder website, you can't, if you go into like Houston, Texas, I mean, you're gonna have page after page after page. I mean, hundreds of listings.
And those are all sitting vacant until as
Um,
they're on the website, or
on the website, if you go on there, each property, you know, you can, it says, you know, available now or available December 6th or whatever. But, you know, there's just so many of them. You know, you'll just kind of get lost in there. You know,
Mhm.
my properties, you know, because I know, you know, what, you know, people, what travel nurses want and stuff, you know,
Mm.
I've tailored them to, you know, I'm in like that top 10%. So people always want to stay at my properties because,
Yeah.
you know, I know what they want. But yeah, definitely can't over fluctuate. I mean, you're not going to have, you know, 100 travel nurses going to one city at once most of the time. So yeah, definitely trying to stay in markets where there already isn't, you know, 1,000 units on that website. Um, so definitely
Yeah,
backing off my market now.
yeah, that makes sense. And your market, is that Ocala or
It
Jacksonville?
is. It is not. It's Gainesville, Florida.
Gainesville,
So
yes. Yeah,
yeah,
so University of Florida.
go Gators, absolutely. Even though, you know, our football season isn't going too good. So
Yeah.
I heard the head coach just got
Just got fired.
yeah, just got
yeah,
fired.
he did. He did. So we'll see. We definitely have a lot of building to do.
Yeah. I grew up a Gators fan. I've never been super big into college football, but I was from Florida, so we were Gators fans. Tim Tebow was there when I was growing up, so
Oh yeah, guys
it
tried, man.
happens. Yep.
Yeah, man.
Brandon, but before we go, what's just kind of diving into the advice section for our listeners here. But I do want to ask a question before we kind of dive in there. Is what has what is the greatest lesson that you've learned in the last 12 months?
Ooh, in the last 12 months,
Mm.
probably just be, you know, honestly bring back to me about that, looking at the long term, not looking at this as a short term
Mm.
thing. Obviously, it did allow me to build a lot of cash flow quick. That isn't going to be the case in the majority of real estate. It is the long game. Um, so looking at it as just investment of putting in the money first, and letting not going the cheap route, not hiring those cheap contractors, doing things right the first time. Um, so it's more passive. You don't have to go back and worry about these headaches, because eventually that's our part is financial freedom. We don't want to create another job for ourselves. So just setting yourself up where to make things for you as passive as possible.
Mm. And I don't know if we skipped over this or what, but you were saying that first deal was October 2020,
Uh,
or did it end up
we
November?
we actually closed very beginning of January. So like I said, that first one under contract in October, and then went to inspection period and had to back out of that. So then went back under contract on a different place. So
So
closed in January.
January 2021, and here we are, and it is still 2021. So all of this happened this year.
Yeah, it was like I said, 10-month period. I closed on my last property in September, very beginning of September.
That is incredible. I'm sitting here right now just trying to think of what we're gonna title this. Like financial freedom in less than 1 year, or $10,000 a month in cash flow in less than 1 year. There's just so many things that are just like unheard of. I've never heard of a story like this, especially happening in 1 year. So it's just like, congrats to you. Congrats. Has anyone told you congrats? Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, man. It's but appreciate it. Thanks, guys. But yeah, definitely good to network. Obviously, being a nurse, I'm not really surrounded by a lot of real estate investors. Um, so not a lot of people get it. Everyone's so big into. I talk to people at work about it. Like, I don't ever shut the hell up about real estate now. I want to take everyone's ear off, and everyone's just all they want to hear about is Bitcoin, get rich overnight, and all that stuff. Which
We can relate with you on that.
diversification's good, but yeah,
It's okay, Brandon. You can
not a
get me
lot of
into
20-year-olds, talking about real
Yeah.
estate. So
It's okay,
we
Brandon.
we
You can
never
give us a
shut up
call.
about real estate. Neither of us. We'll be on the phone for like 1 or 2 hours every night just talking about real estate.
Yeah, we can start doing a Zoom every night with all three of us if you want to take the time to express your
Yeah.
real estate.
Yeah, man.
We'll talk about real estate.
And
But
Ian too. I believe he's taking a final right now, but he'll hop on the call and talk about real estate all night with us as well.
Yeah, man.
Maybe soon we'll just take it all the way back to Bourbon Street and just go get hand grenades and talk about real estate. Wait.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
may
yeah.
never go back to New Orleans. I don't think I can go back.
Yeah, I don't know about those hand
It was
grenades,
great
man.
meeting you, but one time was enough. We'll come see you in Colorado.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Brandon, what's a book that you would recommend or you gift the most to someone, if any?
Oof, man, I am not a reader.
What are you? A podcast listener?
Yeah, I'm always listening to the Bigger Pockets podcast. And yeah, I've really been enjoying y'all's podcast. So, every time y'all's come out now, listen to it first thing as soon as I see that notification. But yeah, Bigger Pockets guy. Watch a lot of YouTube. Luckily for my job too. I can always have an AirPod in and so I'm listening to that stuff. Do watch a lot of like YouTube, Graham, Steve, Meet Kevin, and all that. But yeah, goal of mine this for 2022 is definitely pick up some more books. I really bad habit of I'll get about halfway through a book and just like kind of die off.
Yeah.
The last two I have read and got to finish that I think have both been really good and influential. Will be Life and Air. That really trying to bring me back to what my life want my life to look like. Life's not all about building. Having the most money, but knowing what I want to do in life and what I want, that ideal life to look like.
Yeah.
Um, and then that How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think that's a pretty huge book because it can be used in all aspects of life, just building those connections. But yeah, especially helpful in real estate as well.
What did you
We're,
say the name of that first book was?
Life in Air.
Life and Air. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, really. Yeah,
Yeah,
talked
like
about
Millionaire, but life.
yeah,
I like that.
it's like one of the top 10 books on the Bigger Pockets podcast. Like a lot of
Okay.
people have seen. But yeah, definitely check that out. I mean, it's a pretty quick book. It's like 200 pages. Pretty quick read. So
Okay.
Well-
I do the same thing that you said. Like I'll read half a book and never touch it again. But
yeah,
I just decided yesterday that I was going to get into Audible. And I'm looking on the Audible app and I'm trying to buy books, and you cannot buy them through the app without a subscription because Apple will take a piece of the sale. So you have to pull it up on your laptop and purchase it, and then you go on your phone and download it. But you can't buy it from your iPhone. So I thought that was something that I needed to rant about because I was very frustrated last night trying to buy some books. I was like, I will pay money for it. Why does it not give me the option to do that? But it's an app store thing that Amazon wants to keep all the money.
And what we'll do too, Brandon, is we're building a book list right now. We'll share it with you, so you can see the books we got in there. We can start a little book club action, and
man.
talk about the books we're reading together.
Yeah. I hate to be the cliche, but like I said, if I didn't read Rich Dad Poor Dad, a couple years ago, all this probably wouldn't have happened. But I know that's such a cliche, but it is such a powerful book for sure. So.
Absolutely. And Brandon, before we head out of here, where can people go find you? Just follow what you're doing. Go see the bathroom, the $1,000 bathroom remodels, and just catch up and ask you any questions if they have any.
Yeah, man. I'm on Instagram. I'm never really posted a lot about my real estate, but I realize that now that that is definitely kind of a key piece for the networking, and if people don't see what you're doing, they don't know what you're doing. So I've been posting a lot more, for renovations and a lot of my numbers and stuff on Instagram, so you can find me there. Let me see. I don't even know what my Instagram is actually. It's Brandon Gaskin _. And I do have a section like the stories that has all my real estate stuff on it as well. And I will be posting more now as well, to kind of help people and so people can see what I'm doing, and hopefully they can copy it and they can maybe do that business model as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna be hiking those beautiful mountains you're at right now.
Yeah, man.
You have a phenomenal story. I'm sort of blown away just thinking about it. And I feel like we were just so casual in the conversation, but you really do have a pretty phenomenal story over the past 10 months.
Oh man, well, I appreciate that, but when I was at the Bigger Pockets podcast, originally, so that first day when I was there, I was kind of getting a little discouraged because it seems like everyone I talked to just like, you know, everyone, they were eager to learn stuff, but like almost everyone I talked to the first day, like no one had even, done a deal yet. They were still in that analysis paralysis, which kind of was a little discouraging, but, I mean, I respected them. I was glad, that people were there. At least they were, interested in that. But then I go and meet you guys, and, you haven't talked about your story on Tim yet, but you guys definitely need to, do a podcast on that so people can hear your story. Because, when I heard about Tim and, his portfolio and what he's doing at 20 years old, like that blew me away. And that really lit up a fire in my heart. So I was like, all right, other young people are doing this. This is exciting. So yeah, man, you definitely need to go to a podcast yourself, and so people can hear more about you and what you're doing.
Yeah. I'll be around. If anyone's listening and they have a podcast, message me on Instagram. You know where to find me.
Yeah.
Instagram's definitely the best way.
Awesome. Well, Brandon, before we jump off, do you have any last words to say to our listeners?
Man, just jump in and do it. That's the only way the lessons you learn, through trial and error are far better than any lesson, anything you can learn on YouTube and in a book. You're never going to be prepared for everything, man. You just got to get out there and do it. You'll learn as you go. You'll make mistakes, but in the long run, it's all going to work out, man. You just definitely can't be scared, and you just got to go out and do it, man. So,
Awesome.
Great. Great. Well, we appreciate your time, Brandon. It was an awesome episode. Great story. I encourage people to listen to it more than once. Just really take in all the stuff that you can accomplish, because, like you said, you go to the Bigger Pockets conference and 90% of the people you talk to haven't done anything yet. But you were sort of just like, well, I'm just going to do something and then figure it out. And it really only took a year to change the whole trajectory of your life. So I encourage people listening to really take that in. And once again, appreciate you spending the time to talk to us. I'm Tim Stone with my host, Nick Galbreath, and we're signing off.